2 minutes till broadcast. One minute till broadcast. Thirty seconds till broadcast. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Begin transmission.
Fighting for freedom every day.
Let me tell you, the response to the show has been absolutely amazing. People can't believe that a young conservative millennial continues to fight for constitutional principles, traditional values, and talks about issues that some are even afraid to talk about. But we do it because we understand the importance of this. And now we're seeing it absolutely blow up all across the nation.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Hey, welcome into the Voice of Reason. It is a Friday. You finally made it till the end of the week. The light is finally at the end of the tunnel. Great to have you along for the ride today. We have a heck of a show lined up for you today, broadcasting live out of the heart of the nation here on the flagship station of the Big Talker, KQAM in Wichita, Kansas. All over radio, TV, online, social media streaming on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Twitter, Twitch, LinkedIn, online at HooserReason.com, which I don't know what happened over the last couple of days, but we've seen a skyrocket on the YouTube channel. Thank you. Appreciate it. Type in Hooser Reason. You can find us on there. You can subscribe, and you can watch us live stream. We've also seen a major bump in the podcast downloads. Thank you. Appreciate it. Don't know what happened, but we love it and appreciate it so much. We are wrapping up the week, which is always hard for a talk host, because do you want to keep it somewhat light on a Friday evening, or do you hit the hard-hitting issue? So I thought we'd do something a little bit different today, but then a little bit of the same as well. Coming up in, about 10 days, we have the beginning of the Democrat National Convention, and they're working on the speaking list. And you're going to love the speaking list here, because I find it hysterical. I really, truly think that Democrats really want to self-sabotage themselves in who they're speaking to and who they're trying to pander to and who they're desperate to get rid of within the party. So I'll get to that here in just a little bit. Plus, we have some latest numbers for the COVID pandemic or plandemic, or however you want to call that. Plus, we have Joe Biden, who said he was going to choose his VP nominee running mate by the end of the week. It is the end of the week. We'll see what his it actually looks like and who may he actually choose maybe by the end of the show. Who knows? But he could be choosing that relatively soon. And COVID cases go undercounted with muddy data from U.S. states. Sure. They're undercounted because, hospitals need more money, so they want to claim more COVID cases so they can get more funding. All that and more coming up on the show today. But first, I am really excited. And we do this all the time, as we don't go by a script. Kind of wing it on the show, which is the best way to do it because we like to have fun. Show of hands, how many people listen to like the Joe Rogan podcast or listen to different types of podcasts or other different platforms to talk about some really unique things? And one guy that's been in the media for a while now, Elon Musk. That name sound familiar to anybody? Kind of an odd guy. don't know what to think about him. He says some really cool things. We're like, yeah, right on. Then he says some other things where you're like, I don't know what you're talking about, dude. He named his kid after like a star constellation, his favorite constellation, and a few other weird things all tied into one. Doesn't quite make a whole lot of sense. But one of the latest podcasts that he was on with Joe Rogan, he had talked about the Neuralink Brain Chip that he was creating. Now he's talking about that along with building Tesla with the electric cars, and then talking about his trying to create a spacecraft to be able to go to Mars. And he had talked about giving up a lot of his wealth to go rent and sold all of his homes. Like I don't know, he's out there. But most of the really, really smart people are, right? They're a little off balance. You can't quite understand them, very socially awkward. But they're some of the biggest geniuses that the world has ever seen. Well, one of the things that he's working on is a Neuralink brain chip that he had talked about that can actually trigger parts of your brain to create emotion. They can trigger parts of your brain to create like function in different body parts if you've had some type of surgeries, or if you're paralyzed, or if you have any senses like blindness or smell or taste or something that's gone. Apparently and theoretically, this thing can trigger your brain to make these senses actually work again. And it's very fascinating. Is it scary like Terminator style here, or is it something that the new age and the new world's going to look like as we continue to advance on? And how political is this going to turn? Because myself, I'm a little skeptical about these kinds of things. So to talk about some of that and more with us, I'm excited to have her back on the program. It's been a few weeks since we've been able to chat with her, but she is a board-certified psychiatrist. Also, she's has a master's in public health. She's also a author as well. You can find her online at drcarole.com, but it's Dr. Carole Leiberman hanging out with us today. Carole, how are you, my friend?
Hi, fine, thank you.
It's good to talk to you. Again, let's talk about this Neuralink brain chip. Being able to trigger emotion, being able to trigger senses, being able to trigger your brain to make part of your body function again. Is this new age, or is this just a little futuristic scary for many people?
It is futuristic scary. Now, Elon Musk, you have to give him credit for some of the things that he has already created. Clearly his brain is working, but you have to wonder why he came up with this. I mean, actually, he has said that he is trying to overcome the risk to humans by artificial intelligence, and somehow or other, he thinks that by creating this brain implant that connects a human to a computer, that is going to be able to overcome dangers that artificial intelligence will present. Now, I think that the dangers of this far outweigh any kind of benefit. I mean, this is just too it goes beyond creative, and there's just too many dangers. Now, the thing that, as a psychiatrist, what I find particularly interesting looking at him is how really I think he has, this is a reflection of some of his psychological problems. For example, I mean, certainly it has seemed to me that he is bipolar. And so the idea that he would create a chip that would help with emotions, help with moods and emotions, I mean, I think he is trying to help himself with regulating his own emotions. I mean, he has said, there's a tweet from 2017 that says the reality is great highs, terrible lows, an unrelenting stress, talking about himself.
Sure.
And then when he was asked if he could be bipolar, he said, yeah. And then he said, maybe not medically, though, don't know. Bad feelings correlate to bad events, so maybe real problem is getting carried away in what I sign up for, which he then describes as a ticket to hell. So it seems like he did admit it, and then he wanted to backpedal. So he, said whatever that was that didn't really make very much sense, but he decided to backpedal. So I think that that's why, I mean, besides also being somewhat paranoid about artificial intelligence.
That's a scary position. You're right. Now, it sounds like just from the comments is that he does have a lot of emotional things going on, which everybody does, and we figure out ways to cope them. But with some, like I said, with some of these guys who are extremely smart, extremely intelligent, and they think on a little bit higher wavelength, they don't know quite maybe how to process some of those emotions, and maybe it hits him a little bit harder to where, like you said, he wants to rid them. So him wanting to create these Neuralink brain chips, is it for the betterment of humanity, or is it because of his own self-interest wanting to get rid of the emotion that he's feeling?
Well, I think it's both. I think he does have ideas. I mean, we've seen he has big ideas for humanity. And people who are bipolar, it is a double-edged sword because on the one hand, of course, especially being unmedicated, like we have seen Kanye West as the number one example these days, unmedicated, it can be dangerous and so on, but it can also make you think out of the box. Mm-hmm. So, and I think that is part of what has helped him to visualize some of these things that he's created that have been out of the box.
Let's talk about Elon Musk for a second as a person. I mean, obviously, as we mentioned, he's a very intelligent guy. He created Tesla. He's created the electric vehicle. He's talking about creating a ship to be able to go to Mars. He's obviously a very, very intelligent guy. And these are going to be the types of people that do take society to the next level of technology, whether it is ships, whether it is brain chips, whether it is whatever. Is this, do you think, going to be the trial period to where it fails miserably and we stay away from this type of thing? Or is this the first step to something bigger that we can't even imagine from, 100, 200 years down the road?
Well, it might be both. I mean, the dangers of this is basically taking away our humanity. I mean, is it a good idea to make us more like machines? I mean, AI in itself has some potential dangers. But looking at this brain chip, I mean, think about, we know about what happens when driverless cars, go awry, or certainly there's the potential that they can be hacked because of their connection to computers and so on. So that, besides the whole issue of, having this implant put in your brain is brain surgery, and of course that has its own dangers, but just think about the possibility of these things being hacked. People stealing things out of your brain, stealing memories, stealing thoughts out of your brain, stealing skills out of your brain, and then, of course, putting things in your brain, hacking it to make you to make you kill somebody, for example.
Yeah, that's a scary thought. I mean, you could think of it in the positive way of, I get to upload knowledge or upload a skill into my brain to do something, but at the same time, could you be uploaded to do something bad? I mean, being a psychologist, talk about the psychology of something like this. If someone has maybe depression, they fight depression and their body's not producing serotonin or dopamine or something that makes them feel good in some way, shape, or form, so they fall into a depression like that. So they put this chip in to artificially induce this type of thing. What kind of psychological effects could that have? Could they actually live a happy-go-lucky life, or would that have worse side effects than what we're actually trying to go to fix here?
It would have potentially worse side effects. I mean, here's the thing. The moods that we're feeling, I'm not talking about like bipolar or anything, any mental illness, but just normal, everyday people have up and down moods and so on. And these things are related to, ultimately, it is related to the way we function is, again, putting aside any kind of pathology, the way we function is based upon things from our childhood, traumas that we've had, issues in our relationships with our parents, with our peers, if we were bullied, all the different things that can go on during childhood, if we were sexually abused or physically abused, all of the different things that can happen to children, and pleasurable things too, good things. All of those things affect our brain, affect the development of our personality. And when we then experience things as adults, really they are triggering these kinds of memories and feelings from our past. And so to have something artificial, I mean, even if you look at psychiatric medication, antidepressants or antipsychotics, different kinds of medications that we use, those don't really change the fundamental underlying issues from childhood. That's why it's not really enough to take a psychiatric medication, because, yes, that can temporarily take away the symptoms. Let's say an antidepressant. That could temporarily make you feel less depressed. But that doesn't fix in any way what happened to you when you were a child. You still need psychotherapy to get into all of these issues from childhood to really get rid of the depression on a more fundamental basis.
No, you're right. We got to take a break here. Let's take a break. When we come back, I want to talk about what this could do maybe for the dependency of, and would this create maybe a softer brain or a more relaxed brain without having to actually produce the process of healing itself, but we just become dependent on an outside source to produce that kind of feeling for us rather than us processing it ourselves, which could be a whole nother issue in itself as well. Kind of the muscle memory and your muscle fatigues. Like any other muscle, your brain is the same thing. So we'll do that when we come back. It's Dr. Carole Leiberman with us, hanging out. drcarole.com, talking about some Neuralink brain chips. Is it a reality now? Elon Musk wanting to create something like this. What could it look like for our near future? We'll do that and more when we come back here on The Voice of Reason. Stay tuned on a Friday.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Hey, it's Andy Hooser with The Voice of Reason. Fighting for conservative principles seems more difficult all the time. The progressive left seems to find new and creative ways to limit freedom, abuse power, and trample the Constitution each and every day. That's why we need the knowledge, resources, and common sense to push back, and we can help with that. Visit our website at HooserReason.com. There's some really great stuff for you. You can read the latest blog discussing topical issues and current events. Let us know your thoughts by filling out our monthly survey. Keep track of what I might be doing or where I may be speaking. Listen to the podcast of your favorite guest or show, and check out our latest Voice of Reason product infomercials. Plus, you can find upcoming show schedules and guest lineups to plan your radio listening appropriately. And finally, make sure to become a Hoosier-holic by subscribing to the free newsletter. Stay up to date on the latest news of the show, fun facts of the month, and learn new ways to defend and preserve this great republic. It's all there at HooserReason.com. Again, HooserReason.com. Go check it out. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do. Hey, it's Andy Hooser. Want to reach out to the show? A big part of the program is you, and we want to hear from you. Let us know your thoughts of the show, maybe a guest we've had on the program, or my favorite, when you disagree with something that I talk about. You can email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com or send us a message through our website at HooserReason.com. The show's not about me, it's about you. So be heard and be your own voice of reason. Again, email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com or find our contact information at HooserReason.com. Miss part of the show? Don't worry about it. There's plenty of ways to catch the program, and here's how you can do it. First, make sure to tune in every day right here on your favorite radio station. We're here for you. Second, subscribe to the podcast on any of your favorite sites. YouTube and iTunes, Spotify and Google Play, TuneIn, Podbean, and more. Have the show automatically downloaded to your favorite device. Last, visit our website at HooserReason.com. You can listen to the podcast, catch our special features, and more. It's the Voice of Reason on radio, TV, and online, helping you defend and preserve this great republic. Hey, it's Andy Hooser with The Voice of Reason. The show's growing all the time, and as we talk about the big issues of the day, one of the big parts of the program is you. And I want you to join us on the program. Whether you agree, disagree, or just want to relieve some of that political frustration, we're here for you. No matter where you may be watching, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, go ahead and leave a comment on the live stream. Chat with other listeners and let me know your thoughts on the topic. Also chat with us on the Podbean chat room. Just go to our live stream of the show at podbean.com and chat with other listeners. You can also call into the program. Just download the Podbean app onto your smartphone, join the live stream, and call in through the app. This is your show, and we want to hear your thoughts. So go ahead and join us here on The Voice of Reason and the Hooser Media Network. Hey, miss a show? Don't worry about it. You have plenty of opportunities to watch, listen, learn, and be entertained with The Voice of Reason anytime you want. And here's how you can do it. First, become a Hoosier-holic by going to HooserReason.com and signing up for the show newsletter to get the latest on the show, upcoming guests, topical discussions, and more. Next, subscribe to the podcast and have the show automatically downloaded to any platform you like to use. You can subscribe through any of your favorite platforms with iTunes and Spotify, Google Play and TuneIn, or you can also go and subscribe directly to our Podbean website. Last, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com, search Hooser Reason, and subscribe to watch all of our shows, videos, and get notified whenever we're live. All the links and info are at HooserReason.com. For a schedule of upcoming guests on the program, daily show topics, or to reach out to the Hooser Media Network, visit us on the website at HooserReason.com. Or for general inquiries, to be a guest on the program, or to have Andy a guest on your program, email us at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. Keep fighting for freedom with us every day right here on the Voice of Reason and the Hooser Media Network. Now, back to the show.
You're listening to the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
I'm getting a lot of messages saying, Andy, this is an interesting conversation, a little bit different. It is a little bit different, but as we talk about politics and we talk about the war on our minds and trying to properly educate individuals, it's something that I think is going, mark my words, it's going to be something that's going to be a mainstream conversation point, whether it's in 10 years or 100 years from now, it's going to be happening as we talk about planting things into our brain. The first thing that pops up, and I know it wasn't really an implantation into our brain, was and Dr. Carole Leiberman's our guest here. She's a clinical psychiatrist, also a master's in public health, also a best-selling author. Carole, I don't know if you remember the movie The Manchurian Candidate, where they brainwashed the military guys about a story that didn't really happen in order to get a guy elected, so that way they could have control over the presidency. And they kind of fabricated this, and they brainwashed these people completely. And this is something that I think that was based loosely on some type of real-life story. And as we talk about brain chipping, as you mentioned, I'm so concerned of something like this because brain fatigue, muscle fatigue, to me would be the scariest thing in the world. If we don't have to produce the chemicals in our brain to make us think a certain way on our own, our brain is going to not be trained how to do it any longer, and we're going to become completely dependent on these things, wouldn't we?
Well, that's one thing that could happen. I think that, it's just like people becoming dependent upon drugs and in fact, they've done studies on animals, stimulating the pleasure center in the brain. I don't see one benefit to this.
Yeah.
Unless there was, it's interesting when you think about how one of the reasons why when they did surveys recently about whether people want to take the vaccine for COVID, some of the reasons why some people don't want to is they are afraid, and there's something to be said about this. They're afraid that this is in the vaccine is something that will allow the government or whoever or the people who are in control of the vaccine really to see where they are, to track them. And if not to necessarily, I don't think they can implant something that would make them do something. Although, people are generally more wary about vaccines, and this whole idea of putting something into you. It's interesting how we have become more wary as a society of all of these things. Yeah. Like 5 years ago, maybe, or 10 years ago, more people would think, oh, great, a vaccine. And now more people are really questioning it.
Yeah, it's been pushed in so many different ways, and then we have so many of them throw at us that we're like, wait a second, what's in these things? And once we do learn some of what's in some of these vaccines, we kind of put up a wall, and we're like, wait a second, I don't know if we want to really go down that road or not. We got just about a minute left, but I want to ask you the public opinions on this. Have we done any type of public survey, any public opinion on Neuralinks? Has Elon Musk even talked about public opinion on this? Is it popular? Is it unpopular? Are people just unaware, kind of wary of this kind of thing?
I think people don't really know that much about it yet, but he is going to be he's going to be making a big announcement on August 28th about with more information about that, and I'm sure we'll all be talking about it a lot more then.
Yeah, well, as it gets closer and as we continue to talk about it more, we're going to have you on to talk more about this from the psychological standpoint, because I think with so many people looking to try and relieve pain or stress or try and find answers or try and look for alternatives rather than just working through it themselves, I think more people might be apt to something like this, and that could be, like we said, very potentially dangerous. DrCarole.com is the website. Make sure to go and check her out, a certified psychiatrist. Carole, we appreciate the time very much. We got to get you back on the show again here real soon.
Thank you so much.
Hey, it's always a pleasure right there. All right, we'll take a bottom of the hour break. Kind of an interesting conversation for a Friday. Still political. And if you want to know why it's so political, we'll do that when we come back and talk about the political ramifications of something like this. Who's controlling it? And how do we actually go forward with a potential Neuralink brain chip from someone like Elon Musk, where we just don't know. And it's going to be a conversation to be had. We're going to be one of the first ones to actually talking about it. We'll do that and more when we come back here on The Voice of Reason for a Friday. Stay here.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Hey, it's Andy Hooser. While you listen to the delightful broadcast of The Voice of Reason, don't forget to check us out and follow us on all of our social media sites. Whether you're using Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Minds.com, or Instagram, we're there for you. Find us at Hooser Reason on any of your social media platforms. You'll see special commentary, links to the articles and news that we use on the show, and videos of the broadcast. Plus, you can directly send us a message on social media during the show to let me know your thoughts. Many already do, and it's a great chat room for all of our great listeners. And you can always sign up for the Patreon site to get exclusive content, maybe hear show products before we air them on the radio, and a lot more. And when you support us on Patreon, you also help the show be able to fight for conservative values each and every day. So it's a win-win. Just find us at Hooser Reason on all of your social media platforms, or you can find a link to all of our social media sites on our website at HooserReason.com. We know you're on social media already, so bring some reason into your day. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do.
The Hooser Media Network is way more than just the voice of reason. It's your source to find numerous different online talk shows, podcasts, TV, and radio programs, all in one simple online location for you. From political talk to health talk to whatever you may be interested in, we're here for you. And I tell you, it's growing every day. Catch Tracy Maxfield with her podcast, Engage, Educate, and Empower, discussing mental health issues in children and teenagers. From bullying, teenage suicide, addiction, ADHD, and so much more, learn from Tracy and her guests about symptoms, signs, and ways to talk to your children, plus so much more. Having battled depression, being the author of the internationally acclaimed book, Escaping the Rabbit Hole, and being a retired nurse, Tracy is kind of the go-to on the subject. Make sure to find her on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, along with her website at tracymaxfield.com. Also, make sure to tune into the weekly podcast Jump, Pivot, and Roll with Shannon Stiles and Rachel Murphy. Taking that next big leap of faith is hard. Trying to write a book, maybe struggling with a relationship, looking to take that next big career step. What's stopping you? There's a lot of big questions there, and they're questions that Rachel and Shannon want to help with you each and every week. It's Jump, Pivot, and Roll on any of your favorite podcasting sites and on Facebook and YouTube. All of these shows and a heck of a lot more can be found on the Hooser Media Network Facebook and YouTube channels. Make sure to follow and subscribe to check them out today. Follow all the shows, and if you have any inquiries, check us out at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com. Hey, miss a show? Don't worry about it. You have plenty of opportunities to watch, listen, learn, and be entertained with The Voice of Reason anytime you want. And here's how you can do it. First, become a Hooserholic by going to HooserReason.com and signing up for the show newsletter to get the latest on the show, upcoming guests, topical discussions, and more. Next, subscribe to the podcast and have the show automatically downloaded to any platform you like to use. You can subscribe through any of your favorite platforms with iTunes and Spotify, Google Play and TuneIn, or you can also go and subscribe directly to our Podbean website. Last, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com, search Hooser Reason, and subscribe to watch all of our shows, videos, and get notified whenever we're live. All the links and info are at HooserReason.com.
Oh, hi. You know, conservative messages now are more important than ever before. Election season, state legislative issues, and a rise in the radical left socialist progressive agenda. What we really need now more than ever before is knowledge and wisdom. That's where we come in. Hi, I'm Andy Hooser with The Voice of Reason. And I'm your voice for reasonable talk, conservative commentary, great guests and entertainment on radio, TV, and the internet. It's time to bring some common sense back into the discussion. National issues, state legislative issues, no matter where you may be, upcoming elections, and a heck of a lot more, we can bring traditional values, constitutional principles, and local activism back. And here's what you can do. First, follow us on all the social media platforms at Hooser Reason.
You can watch the live stream of the show, leave comments, and even call into the program. Second, make sure to subscribe to the podcast on all of your audio devices, from iTunes and Spotify to Google Play and TuneIn. Make sure to subscribe to have every episode automatically downloaded so you don't miss a single episode. Third, make sure to visit our website at HooserReason.com. You can catch our monthly blog talking about deeper discussions, see who's coming on the program, plus you can sign up for our free monthly newsletter to catch the latest on the show, monthly topics, upcoming interviews, and more. It's time to be that local activist again. That's what the Voice of Reason's all about. Why? Because that's kind of the reasonable thing to do. And it's time for you to speak up, speak out, speak loud, speak proud, speak the truth, and always speak some reason.
Hey, it's Andy Hooser with the Voice of Reason. The show's growing all the time, and as we talk about the big issues of the day, one of the big parts of the program is you. And I want you to join us on the program. Whether you agree, disagree, or just want to relieve some of that political frustration, we're here for you. No matter where you may be watching, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, go ahead and leave a comment on the live stream. Chat with other listeners and let me know your thoughts on the topic. Also chat with us on the Podbean chat room. Just go to our live stream of the show at podbean.com and chat with other listeners. You can also call into the program. Just download the Podbean app onto your smartphone, join the live stream, and call in through the app. This is your show, and we want to hear your thoughts. So go ahead and join us here on the Voice of Reason and the Hooser Media Network.
When Reason Meets Radio. You're listening to the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
And welcome into the Voice of Reason. Great to have you along today for a Friday hanging out the way we do each and every day, cramming 10 pounds of reason into a 5-pound bag, doing the thing, trying to rebrand the Millennial Generation 1 radio listener at a time. I know that was a bit of an unconventional conversation we had in that last half hour, but I think it's important. And yes, there is a way to tie it into politics, very much so, because if you have, and again, this isn't like sci-fi-ish things 100 years down the road of like some type of 1980s sci-fi movie, as entertaining as that would be. This is actually real life. These are things that we are talking about in today's age. Elon Musk, the head of Tesla, the crazy guy who we don't know whether we really like him or really don't like him. We're not quite sure right now. He's the one proposing this, and apparently he's going to make some official announcement come the end of August talking about his plan for Neuralink brain chips. Like, that's crazy to think about. And if we, I mean, at one point, everybody's really excited about it, and hooray, this is really cool. We can actually have senses back. We can have brain function back. We can move parts of our limbs that we were paralyzed with that we weren't able to do before. And that's cool, but at the same time, there's a lot of politics that will come into play with that as well. How many people do you think want to have some type of money behind that one? We can't use a simple pill right now to fight a global pandemic of a virus, because they want to create a vaccine that's going to cost thousands of dollars for you to get and make you be forced to take it, because pharmaceutical companies and the ones at bay actually want to make all the money from it. If that's the case, then who's going to be making the money when you create a Neuralink brain chip into your brain to actually create brain function in some way, shape, or form? That's why that's concerning, and that's very political, and I think we need to be very aware of something like that. By the way, if you see me glistening, it's not because I'm just beautiful on video. It's a joke. Come on, man. It's because the air conditioner actually went out in the KQAM studios today, and we have, hopefully it's not a distraction in the background, but we have a fan running. But with all the radio equipment, the heat it's 95 degrees out in Wichita today, and it's extremely warm. And the studio is even warmer with all the computers and equipment. So bear with me on that one. We're through, and it's awesome, but I literally filled up a cup full of ice water at the very beginning of the show, and all the ice is melted right now. It's a half hour into the program. All the ice is melted. So we are battling that one, but we prevail. We prevail, my friends, because that's what we do, is we talk about America and the greatness that we have in America. Yeah, let's try that again. Say what?
Winning.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. All right, so welcome in on social media, radio, TV, online at HooserReason.com. You can send me some messages. We'd love to hear from you. I did get a question about, there have been some protests going on all over the country here in Wichita, and saying, are there organizations, other groups doing counter-protests to these things? And I'll be the first one to say that I am personally not a fan of counter-protesting. I don't think it does any good. I don't think that it helps the cause at all. And by the way, we're too busy working and doing our jobs, making money to go out and actually protest protesters because they're out there. Their emotions are high. They're wanting to create a cause and do something that they feel is really important. And we feel the opposite, obviously, to some degree. Or we just don't like the style that they do it. However, but to go out and counter protest, first off, I don't know of any organizations that are counter protesting these Black Lives Matter movements, these defund the police movements. I don't know any counter protesters. Maybe they're done at local levels to some degree, but I don't know because I don't follow them, nor do I necessarily like to do counter protests. If we're going to do a rally, then we should do it on our own away from them. If you remember, there a few years back, we actually held a rally locally here in the Wichita area. I hosted one, and we tried to do a rally to support ICE and support law enforcement after there was a big 2-week camp out on the middle of the side of the street with tents and everything. And they're like, we're going to sit here until they abolish ICE. And I'm like, good luck with that. And 5 people got heat stroke that entire week because I thought it was hilarious. But they were trying to do this. So we waited till a month after, and then we did our own rally, and we had a decent amount of people show up to support law enforcement and to support ICE and to support the rule of law that we so believe in with our constitutional republic. And if we're going to do any type of rallies or messaging, here's the ways you can do it. Number one, show up to the polling booth and make sure that people stay in power that actually believe in those ideas. And number two, hold your own rally, but do it at a separate time. To do the counter protest, and it causes friction between the two groups, and then things happen. They're already on the edge of wanting to be violent because they feel they can do no wrong. They feel they're justified in all of their actions, including blocking traffic, including pulling people out and vandalizing, including tearing down statues, including wanting to beat people up, including throwing Molotov cocktails at law enforcement. Whatever they choose to do, some are peaceful, some are not. But I'm just not a fan of counter-protesting. Just not a fan of it. There's better ways for us to get our voice out. And by the way, we're too busy. We have better things to do. They can do it on a dime, and they get 1,000 people to show up. We try and organize it, and it takes us weeks to organize, and we get 200 people to show up. Not because we don't have lack of support, but because people just don't have time to do that kind of stuff. We would rather go to the voting booth and vote rather than show up on the side of the street with a sign, be like, hey, I believe in what I believe in. To me, I don't like that. To me, it doesn't do any good. It doesn't promote our cause in any way, shape, or form. And there's better ways to get our messaging out, like talk radio, like podcasting, like just going and talking to people in the pub or on the streets or with your family dinners or whatever, and just having the conversations. You're never going to get a deep dialogue or a deep discussion at a protest outside when you're holding signs yelling at each other. It's just not going to happen. And so I'm just personally not a fan of those. But if some like to do so, then all the power, and they can as well. And if you do get a dialogue and if you do get them to calm down, then cool. But usually, most of the time, that usually doesn't happen. There's a few things I want to touch on today, and I find them comical, and then I also find them somewhat disturbing. So the Democrats, I really think that they're really trying to shoot themselves in the foot and actually harm themselves as much as they possibly can.
It is totally absurd.
Let me explain for a second, shall we? So just a year or two ago, if you remember, during the Democrat National Convention, it was the year that Bernie Sanders had dropped out of the race. So I guess it was 2016. And he lost to Hillary Clinton. Everybody was upset on the progressive end of the aisle. They did their Democrat National Convention. They built a fence around the DNC so that way none of the Bernie Sanders radical protesters would be able to come into the convention, right? Now, these are Democrats. These are the party members that actually wanted to change the party to this side of the aisle and to the more progressive movement, and they were fenced out of the DNC. That's happening again. Now, this is the party that is choosing Joe Biden, who has accepted and adapted the extreme radical left movement that wants, at least, to have a vice presidential running mate that is extremely left progressive, and the DNC wants an extremely left progressive candidate to be with him. So when he does get accepted with dementia and they boot him out of the office, if he gets elected, then the VP can step in and run things in a very more progressive agenda. He's been following the AOC climate change agenda, as we talked with our guest yesterday about. He's very, very left. He may be an old dog Democrat, quote unquote, that's been in office since the 1970s, but he's still an extremely progressive candidate because he knows that's where the party's going. But the party doesn't realize that it's going there, and it's fighting it. It's fighting its identity. Just accept it, man. Just accept who you are. Isn't that what they tell people when they have the gender confusion things? Just accept who you are. It's okay. Actually, that would be us saying, just accept who you really are. You don't have to fight it. Don't fight it, man. Just accept what you naturally and biologically are. Just accept it. It's okay. Embrace it. But this is what the Democrats are doing. They're having an identity crisis. They don't know what they are right now, which is really bad going into an election, by the way, because if you're going through your own self, you need to have a strong you before you can actually have a strong others and influence other people. You need to be strong yourself, right? They don't have a strong self right now. They're going through identity crisis between a three-way tear between the radical socialists, between the old dog Democrats, and between the new young Democrats that are coming up trying to blend all of this together. My point in case. According to theweek.com, we have the Biden campaign that is setting the speaker list for the upcoming DNC that's going to be on the 17th, like the 17th to the 20th of this month. And they've had to shorten it because, well, they're scared of COVID and so many people there. So they've had to do quote unquote ruthless cuts to the speaking list of the convention. And guess who's on the speaking list that they're keeping? Outside of Joe Biden, it's going to be former President Barack Obama, First Lady Michelle Obama, Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton. They're also talking about trying to make Al Gore and John Kerry speak. This is literally the old dog Democrats that have been in office for the last 20 years, like the leaders of this, the presidents or the presidential candidates for the last 10 years, 15 years. Michelle Obama, Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, Al Gore, and John Kerry. That's their speaking list. And the story ran from theweek.com is the fact that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has not been invited to speak because of the quote-unquote ruthless cuts, and she's no longer allowed to. Either she was going to and they cut her, or they didn't even allow her to speak when she wanted to. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez reportedly doesn't have a slot yet, according to the story, nor do any of her fellow progressive political newcomers. But the party has reportedly made room for former governor of Ohio, John Kasich. Oh, yeah, the quote-unquote Republican, John Kasich, who despises Donald Trump, who created the Republican National Convention to come to Cincinnati or Cleveland last year and then didn't even show up because, well, Trump's going to be there, so I'm not going to be there. That John Kerry, yeah. The one that's actually a contributor to CNN because he doesn't like conservative news outlets, so he's a contributor to CNN as a Republican. That John Kasich, he's showing up to speaking at the DNC, so he's going to speak, but Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, no, none of her progressive movement individuals are actually going to be speaking at this event. What does that say to you? To me, that shows they're having an identity crisis. When Bernie Sanders is the runner-up for the presidential pick, when you have radicals that are trying to destroy the country, and the Democrats are embracing it, by the way, they're starting to realize that embracing of the radicalism is probably bad for the party, and they're trying to change their tone. So at the DNC, we're probably at least a third to a half of the population of the DNC that's going to be showing up are radical, crazy, progressive, socialist individuals. They're going to not be seeing any of their candidates actually be heard. They're going to hear the old dogs with who the heck cares about Al Gore and John Kerry speaking? Who cares about Bill and Hillary Clinton speaking? Who cares about Barack and Michelle Obama speaking? But that's the speaking lineup for the DNC. Crumbling or just identity crisis? That's up to you to decide for the Democrat National Committee. We got to take a break. One more segment here coming up, wrapping up the show today on a Friday. Stay here on The Voice of Reason.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Hey, it's Andy Hooser. While you listen to the delightful broadcast of The Voice of Reason, don't forget to check us out and follow us on all of our social media sites. Whether you're using Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Minds.com, or Instagram, we're there for you. Find us at Hooser Reason on any of your social media platforms. You'll see special commentary, links to the articles and news that we use on the show, and videos of the broadcast. Plus, you can directly send us a message on social media during the show to let me know your thoughts. Many already do, and it's a great chat room for all of our great listeners. And you can always sign up for the Patreon site to get exclusive content, maybe hear show products before we air them on the radio, and a lot more. And when you support us on Patreon, you also help the show be able to fight for conservative values each and every day. So it's a win-win. Just find us at Hooser Reason on all of your social media platforms, or you can find a link to all of our social media sites on our website at HooserReason.com. We know you're on social media already, so bring some reason into your day. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do. Miss part of the show? Don't worry about it. There's plenty of ways to catch the program, and here's how you can do it. First, make sure to tune in every day right here on your favorite radio station.
We're here for you.
Second, subscribe to the podcast on any of your favorite sites. YouTube and iTunes, Spotify and Google Play, TuneIn, Podbean, and more. Have the show automatically downloaded to your favorite device. Last, visit our website at HooserReason.com. You can listen to the podcast, catch our special features, and more. It's the voice of reason on radio, TV, and online, helping you defend and preserve this great republic. Hey, it's Andy Hooser. Want to reach out to the show? A big part of the program is you, and we want to hear from you. Let us know your thoughts of the show, maybe a guest we've had on the program, or my favorite, when you disagree with something that I talk about. You can email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com or send us a message through our website at HooserReason.com. The show's not about me, it's about you. So be heard and be your own voice of reason. Again, email me at HooserMediaNetwork@gmail.com or find our contact information at HooserReason.com.
Oh, hi. You know, conservative messages now are more important than ever before. Election season, state legislative issues, and a rise in the radical left socialist progressive agenda. What we really need now more than ever before is knowledge and wisdom. That's where we come in. Hi, I'm Andy Hooser with the Voice of Reason. And I'm your voice for reasonable talk, conservative commentary, great guests and entertainment on radio, TV, and the internet. It's time to bring some common sense back into the discussion. National issues, state legislative issues, no matter where you may be, upcoming elections, and a heck of a lot more, we can bring traditional values, constitutional principles, and local activism back. And here's what you can do. First, follow us on all the social media platforms at Hooser Reason. You can watch the live stream of the show, leave comments, and even call into the program. Second, make sure to subscribe to the podcast on all of your audio devices, from iTunes and Spotify to Google Play and TuneIn. Make sure to subscribe to have every episode automatically downloaded so you don't miss a single episode. Third, make sure to visit our website at HooserReason.com. You can catch our monthly blog talking about deeper discussions, see who's coming on the program, plus you can sign up for our free monthly newsletter to catch the latest on the show, monthly topics, upcoming interviews, and more. It's time to be that local activist again. That's what the Voice of Reason's all about. Why? Because that's kind of the reasonable thing to do. And it's time for you to speak up, speak out, speak loud, speak proud, speak the truth, and always speak some reason. Hey, miss a show? Don't worry about it. You have plenty of opportunities to watch, listen, learn, and be entertained with the Voice of Reason anytime you want. And here's how you can do it. First, become a Hooserholic by going to HooserReason.com and signing up for the show newsletter to get the latest on the show, upcoming guests, topical discussions, and more. Next, subscribe to the podcast and have the show automatically downloaded to any platform you like to use. You can subscribe through any of your favorite platforms with iTunes and Spotify, Google Play and TuneIn, or you can also go and subscribe directly to our Podbean website. Last, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com, search Hooser Reason, and subscribe to watch all of our shows, videos, and get notified whenever we're live. All the links and info are at HooserReason.com.
Hey, I hope you're enjoying the program today. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on any of your favorite podcasting sites and have the show automatically downloaded to your phone or computer every single day. Just find us on any podcasting site or go to HooserReason.podbean.com. And be sure to check out our Patreon site, become the ultimate Hooserholic, and help us fight for conservative values every day. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do. Now back to the national broadcast of the Voice of Reason.
You're listening to the Voice of Reason with Andy Hooser.
Oh, I'm going to miss it. I hate going a few days without being able to be behind the microphone doing this thing, advancing conservatism each and every day. We love it each and every day, and I thank you for hanging out with us each and every day as well. Podcast going up here in just a little bit. Make sure to check that out. Also, you can subscribe, follow us on any of the social media at Hooser Reason. Go to the website at HooserReason.com. Become a Hooserholic. Sign up for the newsletter that we send out just once a month for you. We don't bog down your email or anything like that, so we appreciate that very, very much. The party is losing its mind as it's trying to go through its identity crises right now. The Democrats are. Not us. Well, we kind of are too. I saw a headline from Drudge Report, which Drudge Report has gone very, very left and anti-Trump lately. And apparently, here's the headline, Donald Trump losing grip on the GOP wields less influence. That's not true. The last poll that we saw showed 98% of Republicans still supporting President Donald Trump, so they can say that all they want to, but it's not necessarily true. So Democrats trying to find the identity crisis of what they actually are. Are they the progressives? Are they the establishment? Are they the blue-collar working class? Or are they the elites? What are they? Because right now at their DNC, they're having Michelle and Barack Obama speak. They're having Bill Clinton speak. They're having Hillary Clinton speak. They're having John Kerry and Al Gore speak, and John Kasich, the wannabe Democrat who's a Republican, but not really a Republican. We just haven't a wide enough umbrella. He can try and call himself a Republican. But they don't have any of the extreme progressives speaking like AOC, which is making them very, very angry. Which is funny. Now, as we go into that, then we also have the potential nomination for Democrat VP choices for Joe Biden as well that still include Kamala Harris, Karen Bass, both of them from California, which, by the way, and Susan Rice, all of them from California. I would think that you would want to diversify and break out just a little bit rather than these radicals from California. The political consultant in me, I've always enjoyed that side of it, how to do a proper campaign, how to reach the most amount of people, how to do the messaging. That fascinates me. I've never been able to do it. I have. I've been on campaigns before. But I enjoy that aspect of politics very, very much, how to properly appeal, the messaging, the outreach, the gaining support, the gaining voters. I love that part of politics. And so far, the majority of the candidates that Joe Biden has considered for at least his top potential choices are all from California. Then you have the Michigan governor, which would be, honestly, from a Democrat's perspective, a very smart move because Donald Trump is probably going to win Michigan like he did last election. I know, right? The blue-collar workers out there, the union workers that predominantly vote very far left and Democrat might be voting Donald Trump again because he's for the working class. He's the businessman. He's not the politician. And they were shocked when Pennsylvania and Michigan went red and went towards Donald Trump in the last election. So Joe Biden, being the smart guy that he is not, but maybe some of his consultants are. Come on, they're national consultants for crying out loud for national elections. You would think they'd say, hey, Joe, you might want to choose somebody from a state that's a swing state to bring them over to our side. And that's how politics is played. It's not their ideas. It's not who they are. It's not what they believe in. It is, well, we want a woman. We want a woman of minority descent, so that way we can appeal to minority groups. We can appeal to the female vote. And, oh, by the way, we can get someone from a swing state as well. That's what Donald Trump did with Mike Pence, other than the whole woman minority thing. I don't know, unless he has an identity crisis, right? It's a joke. Come on. No, that's what Donald Trump did, though. He had a struggle trying to win over a lot of conservatives after the primary vote when Ted Cruz ended up losing. So what did he do? He went to the heart of the nation that had a very high popularity within his state, a very Christian-based individual because of all the scandals that Donald Trump had been involved with. He went towards Mike Pence, who is very conservative, who is very faith-based, and who is from the heart of the nation. That won over most of the conservatives in the nation that were very skeptical of a Donald Trump administration after the very rough and bloody and brutal primary that we had with him and Ted Cruz going head-to-head for a long time because the conservatives wanted Ted Cruz, and he had to win them over in order to gain the presidency. So Donald Trump's pick, I thought, for a VP with Mike Pence was absolutely phenomenal. It was a very strategically smart move, and Vice President Mike Pence was one of the great things that could have happened to Trump's administration. So Joe Biden, the game of politics, that's what he has to do, is pick someone from a state that can win over a region that's going to promote a certain ideology that's going to carry over some type of voter base that they're struggling with. And right now, that needs to be the mainstream blue dog moderate Democrats from a middle of the part of the country that could potentially win them over. That's not what they're going to do, though. They're going to go with the radical progressive left-wing ideologue that's going to separate most of the mainstream Democrats and actually just try and appeal to the third of the base that is the radical anarchists that are out there burning down statues and vandalizing buildings. So if that's what you want, then hello, Trump 2021. That does it for us today. We'll back at it on Monday. Same time, one more time on Monday with the early recording of the show. Until then, it's time for you to be your own voice of reason. Podcast going up in a little bit. But until then, It's time for you to speak up, speak out, speak loud, speak proud, speak the truth, and always speak some reason. It's the Voice of Reason. Everybody have a great Friday evening. Hey, it's Andy Hooser with the Voice of Reason. Fighting for conservative principles seems more difficult all the time. The progressive left seems to find new and creative ways to limit freedom, abuse power, and trample the Constitution each and every day. That's why we need the knowledge, resources, and common sense to push back, and we can help with that. Visit our website at HooserReason.com. There's some really great stuff for you. You can read the latest blog discussing topical issues and current events. Let us know your thoughts by filling out our monthly survey. Keep track of what I might be doing or where I may be speaking. Listen to the podcast of your favorite guest or show, and check out our latest Voice of Reason product infomercials. Plus, you can find upcoming show schedules and guest lineups to plan your radio listening appropriately. And finally, make sure to become a Hoosier-holic by subscribing to the free newsletter. Stay up to date on the latest news of the show, fun facts of the month, and learn new